Welcome to the Uplifters podcast, where every week I talk to incredible women over 40 who are doing big, brave things in the world and sharing their mindsets, their hurdles, and their practices to help us all find our path to doing bigger, braver things. And one of the things I've really been learning in my life lately is that my threshold for bravery keeps increasing, and that what felt really brave 3 years ago feels like, meh, no big deal now. And so today I'm really excited to talk to Karissa Pfeffer. She's a certified health coach. She is the founder of Perimenopause Power. I met her at the Swell Summit, Naomi Watts Menopause Summit, and she had on this rad Perimenopause Power t-shirt that we were all like, oh yeah, girl, we see you. And she was so smart about making connections, and just really glad to know her and see her out in the world. But her work is really dedicated to ensuring that women don't suffer silently and leave their careers because of unmanaged menopause symptoms. It all comes from her own experience with burnout that she initially attributed to just motherhood and work stress, which I'm sure were factors, but then ultimately discovering that she was actually navigating perimenopause was a revelation that transformed her choices and ultimately her life and her career trajectory. Now she's helping women understand what's happening in their bodies during these transitions to reclaim their energy and confidence, and then create the sustainable habits that allow them to thrive in every area and every stage of their lives. Mission is rooted in a really powerful statistic that I think we should all know, which is that 13% of women leave their careers because of unaddressed menopause symptoms. And she's determined to help change that number. So, Karissa, thank you so much for being here. I've been so looking forward to this conversation.
Me too.
What was going on that you were like, wait, is this postpartum? Is this work stress? Is this more? Tell me what life was like then and how you started to look for and find some answers.
Yeah, so I feel like there wasn't like one instance, right? So I had a long-standing career in corporate finance and data analytics, and I was an overachiever, right? A people pleaser, an overachiever. I think a lot of women suffer from this. And I did a really good job at work. And if anybody's familiar of what happens if you do a really good job at work, then you get more work and more people lean on you. And so I was kind of in the height of my career. I was in our C-suite all of the time. I was a lot of different people's go-to, but I also had my baby later. I know you and I were kidding around. You're like, that's not old for New York, right? Like I had my baby at 35, but it is deemed advanced maternal age because I put my career first. You know, like I had spent the years climbing the corporate ladder, and when I got back from maternity leave, I'd gotten thrown back into the fire. Like there was no easing up. It was essentially like, hi, here's your team of people, go forth, and you have a new leader and train him. And so I don't even know that I actually even recovered from birth to getting thrown back into it. And then fast forward, my daughter turned 2 the day our company shut down. We were doing a trial shutdown for COVID on her second birthday, and we all know the rest. Here goes, you know, like a year and a half of working from home, which was supposed to be a 2-week test. But when the world kind of stopped, I was in the mortgage industry. And so if you remember what happened in the mortgage industry, rates kept coming down, which meant we got busier and our jobs got crazier. So I'm working at home, meeting with our C-suite every single day on Zoom. My daughter is 2 at home with us out of daycare. And so finally, probably around like 2022, 2023, things kind of felt back to normal, but I didn't feel back to normal. So at this point, I'm probably 5 years postpartum. I know I'm burnt out. I'm putting maybe 20 minutes of time to myself, which is like purely for sanity. It's not even for like a maintenance. It's purely for sanity at this point, sneaking upstairs to do a quick workout, but then like running downstairs sweaty to hop back on a Zoom call and working, till 6 o'clock when I had to pick my daughter up from daycare. Thankfully, it was in our building. But so I'm experiencing like major fatigue, anxiety, depression. And I think I'm postpartum still, but I'm like, when does this postpartum thing kind of go away? 5 years into it. So our company actually offered buyouts in 2023. And I thought I was going to retire from my company. Like I was doing a great job. I really loved it there. But when they announced those buyouts, I can't explain it as anything more than a gut feeling told me I needed to take it. And I was the breadwinner of our family. And I told my husband, I'm like, I think I need to take this. And he was super supportive. And I thought this was going to be my reprieve, right? I was 41. I definitely wasn't ready to retire, but I'm like, this is going to be my reprieve. I'm going to come up for air. I'm going to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But my symptoms got worse. So I left my job. I'm now exhausted. I have all this time on my hands. So I think I'm going to start moving my body more and I'm going to start going to yoga again. And I have no motivation to do anything that I love, and not even movement, right? Because movement can be hard for people sometimes. Like, no, I just don't want to go for this walk. But it was like gardening and planting my flowers and making dinner, like the fun stuff that used to be fun for me. And I saw no joy in that. And I was out for a walk one day. I did finally have time to listen to podcasts, which I had never listened to a podcast at the age of 41 until I quit my job. Isn't that crazy?
Yay, podcast.
Right, yay, podcast. So, and now here I am on one.
I know.
So I'm out for a walk, and I'd been really big on Mel Robbins, and Dr. Mary Claire Haver was on. And the title was something with menopause. And I'm like, I'm going to change this, but it was cold and I didn't want to like reach into my pockets and take my mittens off. So I listened and my mind was instantly blown. And I was like, oh, you're not postpartum. You're not burnt out. Hey, girl, you're in perimenopause. And menopause isn't something that your grandma goes through. Spoiler alert, symptoms can start when you're 35. And I started like putting two and two together. I'm like, oh, that's why I never recovered from being postpartum, because I probably was already starting to experience some perimenopause symptoms anyway. And now I didn't have any time to like rebound. And I just went like straight from one hormonal shift into the other one. And then that just led me down this like massive rabbit hole of educating myself, because I was always the go-to for my friends for health and wellness. They would always call me and be like, hey, what should I do? Or like, what should I eat for this? Because that was my like side passion. I was a yoga teacher and always in that space. I'm like, oh, if I don't know this, my friends for sure don't know this. And then who are they going to call? Like, I need to educate myself. And I got down this like major rabbit hole. And I was so sad that we don't know about our bodies. Like I was so sad that no one's teaching us, as teenage girls, even like, so now we're just like thrown into the fire and oftentimes not even knowing that these symptoms in isolation, right? I'm tired. Okay. I am anxious. I have itchy skin. And in a little isolated world, you don't start putting them together. And then all of a sudden you see it on a symptom tracker and you're like, check, check, check. Oh, I've got that one too. Check itchy ears. What? Yeah. So instantly, like, I felt so seen though. I felt so seen and validated. I was like, I'm not crazy. My hormones are.
Yeah. I think that's, in general, just such an important thing is to have these moments of realization. And my daughter this week read about dysgraphia, and which is like, it's basically dyslexia, but for handwriting.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah. And so like they have an unusual pen grip and all. Anyway, we'll do another episode about dysgraphia. Go Google it. It was this moment for her of like, oh, I'm not broken. I'm not wrong. There are other people who experience this. There are ways to manage this that
Yes.
have been researched, right? And so I think anytime in general that we get data that corresponds to our experience, it normalizes it and it reduces that sense of anxiety that is blocking our path forward, because we can say, okay, now I know a little bit and now I can understand what's the next tiny step I could take toward clarity. And so I really hear that echoed in here, instead of like when we assume it is the diagnoses that we expect, or that the things that we're aware of and have heard of, we so often are chasing the wrong solution and just making the actual root issue worse.
Because you're not fixing the root issue at all.
Correct. And I hear this time and time again with women in perimenopause and menopause, that it's like, oh my gosh, I was burning myself. I was actually burning myself out
Yes.
trying to fix problems that weren't even related to the problem that I had, because nobody saw what was actually going on with me.
No. And it's like, you look and and are a lot of those symptoms similar? Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
also, when we're not taught, then we just default to like, okay, well, I'm 5 years postpartum, or okay, I'm, just burnt out from my job. Let's leave it. And it's like, well, you know, would it, would I have done something differently with my career? I don't know, because I feel so validated in that I am on the right path finally to be of service to women. So, I mean, I think everything happens for a reason. So I'm so happy that I actually did leave my job. But
Mm,
but also I loved my job and I loved my team and I loved the people I work for. So I kind of wish I didn't have to make that choice. But
yeah.
I definitely know that what I'm doing today is so much more impactful than managing a company's bottom line or their $1 billion marketing budget, and you talk about data, like that was my world. I was a finance and data
Yeah.
girl. So I'm like, give me all of the data so then I can make an informed decision on it afterwards.
So, as you started to understand what was going on with you, what were some of the things that began to give you a sense of relief and uh, helped with not only some of your symptoms, but also specifically your energy levels?
Yeah. So I think for that, for me, I had a pretty good toolkit at my disposal from my health and wellness background. But I think one of the things that we don't talk enough about, because, a lot of the symptoms are obviously very physical and very physical, mental. I mean, it's like the gamut, right? But I think even still, what I hear today, and I'm so excited Menopause is having this moment, right? Like conferences like the Swell that we get to go to and all these doctors on this stage. But I think for a lot of women, there's so much being thrown at them, you almost get like in this freeze mode, because it's like, what you should be doing. We all, like, these are not like groundbreaking, like rocket science tips, right? Like eating healthier and making sure we're moving our body. I think the one thing that doesn't get enough press coverage or doesn't get talked about enough is nervous regulation and stress reductions. Because
Hmm.
even now that hormone replacement therapy is getting also more press and more like they're debunking all the myths, I think a lot of times we think like, oh, I'm just going to take this HRT and my symptoms are going to go away. But then we're doing all these things over here with our life that might actually counteract how the HRT works. And so I really think at its core, stress reduction and nervous system regulation is like so foundational. And I think really for me, I started doing the things that you should do again, right? Like moving my body more and eating healthier. I had a pretty healthy diet as it was. And so for me, I'm like, well, what more can I do? I didn't notice the biggest effects when it came to my mood and my energy until I really started doing the inner work. And
Wow.
and it doesn't have to be so complicated, right? I think a lot of times people are like, well, I don't have time. And I didn't have time until I left my job. We're all overwhelmed. A lot of us are like high achieving women who are climbing the corporate ladder, maybe, in parallel with raising little ones or teenagers or helping out the sandwich generation, helping out our elderly parents. And so we don't have time to throw one more thing on our plate. And I think there's also a misconception, nervous system regulation, that doesn't take a lot of your time. Like 5 minutes of breathing exercises, gratitude journaling every day, having some good sleep hygiene. And I think those things are not talked about enough. And that is the thing that I think impacted me for the better once I started doing that work.
Wow. You really nailed it there, because I do think we have this tendency, especially in midlife, to want to pile on more when maybe what we need is less and more intentional. And there was a guest on the show recently, Elena Brower, another yoga teacher, who said that paradoxically, her days feel longer when she does less. And I think that speaks to what you're saying here. This idea that if we focus our energy and attention on what truly matters most to us, in your case, it sounds like your own well-being, caring for your daughter's well-being, and the impact that you get to have through your work. And when the energy investments are strategic, we can get much bigger returns. And I actually wrote about this in my newsletter today, about thinking of it as a bank account.
Yes. I say that a lot. That's why I'm getting so excited.
Oh my God.
Yes, but I
love
say it more like on the physical. I'm like, build your muscle bank, build your bone density bank when you're in your 20s. But like, yes, you're putting in those daily deposits, right?
Yeah. And some things are big deposits that get compound interest, right? Like a great conversation with a friend. If that's going to be like an hour of your time, maybe you do it while walking, and you get the compound interest of feeling great physically, of feeling great mentally, getting really clear on your intentions and your priorities. Like, that is serious energetic investment.
Yes.
There are other things that deplete your account really fast. And maybe those are things like, I don't know, a conversation that doesn't have a point.
Or with a negative person. I mean, I've found
with a complainer.
Yeah, like a soul sucker, I always call them.
Yeah, energy vampires.
Yes. I feel like, okay, there's a lot of misconception out there about perimenopause. And I think a lot of people want to be like, oh, menopause, it's the worst. I actually my 40s, I really love them, because I always kid around, like, I have way less F's to give. Way less. My boundaries are like really reeled in. And I think that's part of that nervous system regulation too, is like, I say no to so many more things. And I think, again, like, not to stereotype or, genderize with women versus men, but I feel like women tend to, again, the people pleasing and stuff, we tend to say yes to things that we don't really want to do, or we do things out of guilt and obligation. And I remember my 20s, I would feel like I had to go to an event because I didn't want my friend to be mad at me, or you would say yes, but really, like, in the very instant you said yes, you knew it was a no. You knew you really didn't want to go to this thing. I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but that is one thing. Like, if I could go back to my 20-year-old self, I'd be like, say no to more things. Like, only do the things that and granted, like, you can't necessarily say no to, like, feeding your child because you don't want to, right? But going to these parties, and I think, like, especially as the holiday season starts to become upon us, when things get crazy, it's like, I say no to so many things, because why do that to yourself? And at the end of the day, like, this is the body, this is the vessel that we get to live in. And so I think it's really important to do the things that serve us. And I think that misconception of, like, oh, you're just being selfish. Like, you know what? If somebody thinks you're being selfish, that's a reflection of their own being. It has nothing to do with you. And I'm starting to learn that a lot more too, is like, hey, what people are projecting on you, it's not a you thing, it's a them thing. And, I kind of just, it's not that I don't care anymore, but I think that is like something that I don't spend a lot of time thinking about anymore. And I think that comes with a lot of the work and the inner work with the nervous system regulation, and knowing that if I say yes to this thing, it's not going to serve me inside. And then when your nervous system isn't regulated, we talk a lot about this like midlife pooch, like I have one, and it's not really fun, but you can't like eat better and move your body more and think that that's going to go away when you're not handling the cortisol that's like internally spiking inside of your body. Like, and that's why you see a lot of these women, they're like, I'm eating the same as I did when I was in my 20s. And like, I'm gaining weight now. And it's like, well, estrogen, also your estrogen leaving, but cortisol, we got to fix that cortisol inside, and like to do that, you need to do this inner work. And I think it's so important, and boundaries.
Wait, so you're saying, and then I believe you, but you're saying that journaling and gratitude will reduce your belly pouch.
Well, it reduces your cortisol.
I mean, I think though they're all tied together.
Right? There is so much research out there about like having a daily gratitude practice, 5 minutes of breathing exercises. Again, a lot of people think like, oh, I don't really know any breathing exercises. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of actually just being conscious about your breath coming in and out of your nose. I mean, it's one of those things I would always say when I taught yoga. Okay, we have 3 things that we absolutely, they're like it's a necessity to live: food, water, and air, right? And shelter is great also, but food, water, and air. Well, we listen to our bodies when it says it's hungry, right? Our tummy starts to growl. And when we're thirsty, we know our lips will get parched. You can tell your skin starts to get dry. We know these cues of when we're hungry and when we're thirsty. But the one thing we literally can't live without for more than, 2 minutes, unless you're some super, super underwater diver, you can't live without air. Yet it's the thing that our body just does naturally that we don't even pay attention to. I bet you most people probably consciously don't even think about their breath on a day-to-day basis. So even just sitting for 5 minutes and, being conscious of this breath coming in and out of your nose, that's conscious breathing.
It's so fascinating that if somebody tells me to hold my breath for a minute, it's like the hardest thing in the world, unless I'm lifting weights, and then I can hold it for like 80 minutes.
Subconsciously, you're like, and they're like, hey, remember to breathe. You're like, oh
yeah. Breathe. I'm like,
oh yeah, that.
But it is interesting, isn't it? Because in one case, right, the holding your breath really is attention to your breath.
Yes. Yes.
With the conscious holding, the unconscious holding is
the unconscious
attention to it.
Like it was always a cue in yoga, like unclench your jaw, and you're like, oh yeah, oh I am.
Oh, okay. Right, I know.
Oops.
Drop your shoulders.
Yeah, we're not wearing them like earrings. My favorite yoga teacher used to say, and you're like, oh yes, sit up tall.
And what it is, I think, in general, is you're talking about bringing awareness to this stuff and being present in the moment, as opposed to constantly looking ahead and behind.
Yes. Yes. What do they say? If you're living in your past, you're depressed. If you're living in the future, you're anxious. But if you're present, you're just content. The thing too is with a lot of women, especially during this transition, with the estrogen slowly waning into your body, a lot of women all of a sudden will say like, I'm feeling depressed or I'm feeling super anxious, and they don't know why. And now obviously people that might have a history of anxiety and depression, different story. But for me, I never did. And so mine was kind of out of nowhere. Specifically, driving anxiety is a thing during postpartum. Isn't that crazy? Like my anxiety is when I am driving, I don't like getting on the highway anymore. If it snows, I won't go anywhere. I'm like, nope, not driving today. Not. And I grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan where we would get 24 inches of snow overnight, like, and you drive in it, no problem. And now I'm like, I'm not going out there. I could get into an accident. You look at the amount of women on SSRIs, and it like more than doubles in the age range of 40 to 59. And it's like, well, yeah, now that I'm in it, it's like, oh yeah, well, thanks perimenopause. But and also oftentimes women are just misdiagnosed with these things, right? And doctors don't know what
Mm-hmm.
to look for. And so no one's teaching like foundational things like we're talking about. Oh, and then they're also going on medication that they may or may not need. There's obviously a place for anxiety and depression medication. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I think a lot of women are misdiagnosed, and that becomes the first line of defense instead of like what we started the episode talking about was like root cause. And
Yeah.
that makes me sad for women too. Our medical professionals who aren't trained in this, then we're not getting better and we don't know why. And that makes me
Yeah.
sad too.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's interesting too. I mean, as I listen to you, I'm struck by the fact that in my coaching practice, I work primarily with women who are leaving corporate careers and starting entrepreneurial adventures, oftentimes creatively focused. And we really go on this journey together to build their next chapter outside of sort of the familiar and family of a corporate system. I always talk, my friend calls it corporate daddy. Um,
Corporate daddy. It's going to be corporate
right.
mommy one day, right?
I hope so. But
Yes.
the structure really is. And I mean, there's a New York Times article about this
I was
recently
just going
that's
to say, dear we.
dare we? And it is like we think about the the urgency, right, that we feel to go and create something. And I think that's a really powerful decision based in our orientation toward a growth mindset, particularly in midlife. But I
Yes.
think a lot of your work is actually helping corporate daddy be better. A better family to women in perimenopause and menopause. So, what are some of the accommodations that you encourage companies to make in order to better support women in this time of life?
This has been like something that probably in the past 5 months, I have been really like, I want to help women individually or in group coaching settings, but my like passion is making sure that women don't leave the workplace without the information. If you have all
Mhm.
the information, the
It's a
data,
choice.
yeah, right. It's a choice.
Yeah.
It becomes a choice, not like a force out. But I think first and foremost, corporates educating their team members. I had no education myself. And I think and our company was so great at DEI. We were like a very, DEI was at the forefront of our company values. They did a lot I mean, like we had tampons in the male bathroom. They were constantly doing things for like inclusion and all
I
of that.
love that.
But yes, and also like just showing even the companies on the forefront of it still can do some
Mm.
work. And so I think first and foremost, it's education and educating the women or the humans born with ovaries in the workplace, educating them about their bodies first and foremost, and then educating the leadership. Because I think a lot of times, unfortunately, in a lot of corporate Americas, there's still definitely like a disparity of women in leadership versus men. And I
Mhm.
think it's really important for these men to know what their team members are going to go through, but not only their team members. I mean, like they probably have a spouse, a mother, a
Mhm.
daughter. Men are not absolved from menopause because they're going to be around someone that's going through it.
Right.
So education first and foremost, but then putting in policies such as letting women have fans at their desk. At my office, you couldn't have a fan, you couldn't have a space heater. I think because they were afraid about
I
like
kind of get space heater, though
yes,
I always had one. I
under your
smuggled
desk,
it.
like hidden.
Correct.
And then
But the
facilities would,
fan?
yes,
Why? It's just,
right.
come
And
on.
like having flexible work policies because now we're kind of out of this COVID, and I know a lot of companies are going back to work or back to work in office, but really having that flexibility of allowing women to work from home when they need to, and not
Mhm.
even just women. When do we start getting treated like adults? Like just all of us,
Honestly.
right? Like
Honestly.
if I can see of 2 hours of a commute into the office. I'm going to be more productive at home. And then, oh, by the way, if I need to go lay down because I'm having the most excruciating cramp, or because I've had such a massive period and I've bled through, that's another thing. Like you hear about,
I'm
you
hemorrhaging today.
see,
Gotta
yeah,
work from home.
yes, right? Like, and so even I've read a lot of companies, what they started to do, the UK is ahead of us on this. So they just instituted legislation that's gonna, I don't know the specifics of it, but essentially it's gonna make menopause workplace either training or policies and procedures like we're talking about mandatory for all of the companies.
Wow.
But even I read some companies put black sweaters in the women's bathroom. So if you do have a bleed through, you can it's always hanging. You can tie it, take it back to your desk, and then probably quickly peace out, right? Like, so
Wow.
just
That'd
things
be
like,
cool too in schools.
yes. It's the second puberty. It is the second
Yeah.
puberty. There's so many correlations to teenage and what we go through in midlife. And so even those things, and then like, unfortunately, I don't think we're much further along than just even starting there. But I know Rhode Island, they're the only state with legislation for menopause in the workplace. Michigan, where I live, we've got 4 different bills on the docket right now with bipartisan support, luckily, which it's more with insurance providers. It's not specific to the workplace yet. But I do think that like, the more we talk about it, the more we're going to start to see that. And so just what I encourage companies is like, be on the forefront of this, be the leader, be the industry leader, because here's where my finance and data brain goes. I also do cost analysis to these companies. And a lot of companies think, well, we're a small company. We're only 1,000 people. But I did the math on 1,000 people. Say your company's 1,000 people. And I think it's like 47% of the workforce are women. And then if you look at the age range of women 35 to 55, that's like 33% of the 47%. Long story short, even if your average salary and benefits of your team members, it's like $100,000, you get that 13% that's going to leave, like me. And then PS, another 12% are at risk of leaving. So that puts you at 25% your at-risk population just to backfill. So we're not talking loss of productivity. We're not talking about loss of absenteeism or increased healthcare costs because these women have to go to doctor to be misdiagnosed. So just backfilling your attrition. A small company at 1,000 people like that, it's a cost of like $650,000 to $1.2 million if that full 25% left. So these small companies aren't immune from a cost perspective either. And so if you get somebody in training, even if it's just an initial education session, and now these women leave empowered and they realize they don't have to make the choice that I did, even that alone, we're talking such minimal costs and, it's just the right thing to do to offset what you're going to lose to try to backfill. And then you think about, that's just the average person. If you start backfilling women in senior positions, there's data and statistics out there saying that takes anywhere from 100 to 400% of the salary because they take longer to fill. And then even like for me, my job sat vacant for like a year. So my old team members would be like, Karissa, we still don't have a leader yet. We've got like an interim leader, doesn't really know what's going on with our team. And so like, what does that do to the morale of all the people, men and women, when these leaders are leaving too? So it's what I call the off the spreadsheet stuff. But there is a significant cost to these companies where you can mitigate that very simply by getting some education in your workplace.
That's right. Like a single workshop could make a huge difference.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And then like
every company should invest in you, Karissa.
Oh, thanks. They can call me. Absolutely.
But you think about, right, like that these are conversations that we've had about maternal care. And I look at the difference between my daughters are 14 and 17. I look at the difference now and what was provided 14 to 17 years ago. My kids are still living at home with me. They can't be that old. And
You're like, they're like two.
yet there was no paternity. My
No,
husband didn't get a single day of paternity.
no.
I got my 90 days, but only like a teeny tiny amount of it was actually paid.
Right.
Right? Like, so there's a reason companies have made those choices because they want to maintain their workforce. They want to be a workplace of choice.
Yes.
And I think what you're saying is this is just kind of the next frontier is how we help care for these women who we've, in many cases, promoted to the highest roles. And then we're like, nah, we're going to just pretend that everything is status quo there and that they are at the peak of their productivity, not somebody we're willing to invest in and care for anymore.
Yes. And also,
What a
too,
waste.
you think, okay, so like when I came back from maternity leave, you come back from maternity leave and it's like, oh, well, she's tired. She's got brain fog. Like these things are actually like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an excuse. This is reality, but they're forgiven kind of because it's like, oh, well, she
Mm-hmm.
just got back from maternity leave. So now you've got me. Because again, I think no one really realizes unless you're like in this that 35-year-olds can start to experience these things. So you get women like me. I'm on the top of my game. I'm 41 years old. I've like checked all the boxes. I've climbed. And now all of a sudden, I'm a little snappy when I probably shouldn't be at the workplace. My husband's getting the brunt of it though. So ask him. It was way worse at home, right? Your brain fog is like real. You know, I'm in the middle of a meeting and you just, even there's a couple times on here, I'm like, wait, what'd she just ask me? Like, hold on, perimenopause. But you're in a meeting, an important meeting, and you're presenting and you literally just are like, I don't know what I was gonna say. Or what happens worse, I think, is these women, they are forced to take time off or not come into the office. You start to see your all-star performers, whether or not they're in leadership, start to get bad performance reviews, but they don't know what's going on inside, so they can't communicate to their leader. I mean, like this is the reality of the corporate workplace. And yeah, I mean, it's really sad because like you said, and then instead, what do? We just suffer in silence because we're not
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about it because we don't actually maybe know what's going on in our bodies. So
Mm-hmm.
what would we even say? I kind of feel funny. Like I can't explain it, but I just feel off. But also then I always think, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we're not supposed to talk about health issues. I was not in HR. So like, I don't know. But then too, there definitely has to be probably some procedures because you probably don't want your male leader being like, hey, all the things you're
Hey,
telling me, it
ugh.
kind of sounds like you're in perimenopause,
Yeah, that
and then
sounds
like
terrible.
ruffle some feathers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, as much as anything, it's knowing how to manage it when an employee comes to you and says, I'm trying to figure this thing out. It's
Yeah,
probably a better.
right.
Um, so I love hearing all of this and learning all of this. I also want to make sure I learn from you about your journey to entrepreneurial work after a career in corporate. And in the interest of time, I'll just kind of rapid fire this. But what were some of the biggest lessons and learnings you got during that transition? What made the difference for you branching out into a whole different way of organizing your work and work life?
So it was very, very eye-opening to me. Like I managed the balance sheet of a Forbes 500 company, right? But like managing someone else's money and managing someone else's company, right, is so different. And I think as smart of a woman as I am and as, as put together and like knowing all, I actually had like very well-rounded experience. I used to support technology and marketing, and I had a really comprehensive view of a company. I think it's really shocking when you have to become the CEO, the CMO, the CFO. You're like wearing all these hats. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I think that was the hardest thing for me, is because my passion is like doing the thing. It's doing the coaching, right? It's helping the
Mhm.
corporations. And when you're then also running all these background processes and posting on social media, and I think that was the most like, whoa, eye-opening thing for me. And I don't know that I have it all figured out yet. I will tell you though, last year and this year, I've made probably the least amount of money that I have coming from corporate, and I have never been happier. And I think
Mhm.
that that's one thing that I was, like, I think looking back, you'd be like, I had that safety and security of that paycheck every other week. And, luckily my husband's carrying the benefits and stuff for the family. And I do have his income also. But I think just reminding yourself everything's going to be okay, and don't quit, because it took me a full year of making like close to nothing to finally start to get some traction. So I think it's like,
Mhm.
don't quit. And then, oh, by the way, just be prepared for that rude awakening when you have to do it all. Like, you're going to do it all, but it's so worth it when it's yours. It's your
Mhm.
baby that you're doing it all for.
I also here and there allowing our KPIs to be responsive. So that income, those merit increases, those promotions all felt really meaningful and really validating in
Yes.
my corporate life.
Yes.
And not getting those was something to adjust to. But then when I opened up the lens a little bit and I was like, well, what are my merit increases now?
Yes.
What promotions am I getting? And I began to see how powerfully and meaningfully validating those were. I began to realize that actually I was making more than I ever had in my life, even if the bottom line looked different.
Yes.
Once I really looked at what my KPI, what my key performance indicators were, what was aligned with who I am and what I want and need right now in this chapter.
Yes, I think we oftentimes think about abundance in just the term of money and wealth. And so part of my biggest decision, my why, was 0 through 5 for my daughter. Looking back, like, my career was number one, and I get sad about that. Also, I was doing all the things, right? Like, this is like setting her up for success also.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my biggest why was to have more time with her. So I pick her up from school every single day. She doesn't go to kids club. I get to pick her up every single day. I get to bring her to her practices. I don't miss a game. I don't miss an after school. I can volunteer at lunch. Like, that is abundance to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
supersedes any paycheck at corporate that I could be getting, because those were the things I would have been missing out. I think about it right now. I'm like, how would I do this? Like, how would I, I'm sure I probably would have figured it out, but I bet I would not have been as present in her life. And reminding myself that when I get in a tailspin of like, oh, I've made no money, or whatever it was, like, and reminding myself like why I'm doing this. I'm doing it to be with
Yeah.
her. I'm doing it so she can see what that's like. And I think then when you start to think about abundance, it starts to shift the narrative. You're like, I am so abundant in all other areas of my life. And I know that because I am, the money will follow.
Yeah. And I just believe that I am happier
Yes.
and that matters,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I having a life that responds to my needs and my energy and my creativity and I get to be in flow. Like that's everything.
Yes. Yes.
So like how could I choose anything else at this point? I don't know.
And
I,
it's
like
okay
you,
if
I'm
you
really glad.
don't.
I don't know. Maybe perimenopause was the reason I felt cranky and brain foggy. I
Right.
don't know. As I'm listening to her, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All that was happening for me too. But I also think it was also that I was just like done.
And I
I
do
had
think
served
there's,
my time there and I was ready for something else.
yes. And I think a lot of women, when you hear this, like, it's okay if you stay at your corporate job too. And
Yeah.
also, like, because for some women, you start to think like, what would I even do, or what would I turn into my business? And look, like, I think women who leave their corporate career and go into entrepreneurship, It's amazing. It's not for everybody though. And
No.
so I think, it's hard when you start to see these things. You start to see like all your friends leaving or everyone's opening a company and you're like, I kind of don't want, that's okay. That's okay.
That's
But
great.
don't suffer in your current career either. Like don't suffer
You get to be
inside
happy.
and physically, like get the help that you truly need. So then at least you are like the best version of yourself in your corporate career.
Here. I have loved talking to you, Karissa. I'm so excited about what you're building. It's so needed. Truly, I hope every company hires you to come and do this workshop.
They can.
As uplifters, we love to uplift other uplifters. So how can we support you in your work right now?
Thank you. Oh, for me, sorry. Okay, so I was like, woo. You can, if you are an HR business professional or a DEI professional and you want, I literally do offer these trainings. You can come to my website, which is www.perimenopause-power.com. And then I'll send you for the show notes or whatever. And then also, if you are a woman and you're like, I would love the accountability and the motivation. I do coach women. I love group settings better. And so I actually just launched a collective where we're in community with each other, because I feel like during this time, it can be so isolating and so lonely, and it's hard to talk about things. And sometimes it's easier to talk about with pure strangers that you are bonding over like the common thing together. And so I also have a coaching collective, which makes it more affordable because one-on-one coaching can be expensive for women. So I just launched a collective. So women can come see me and corporations can come see me. Both, they can go to that website.
Awesome. And I really hope you'll come to Uplifters Live March 13, 2026, downtown Manhattan.
I love New York.
It's such an amazing day, and our guests and our audience get together and we share stories and we learn from each other and we make friends. And it's the most beautiful day of the year. And this year is going to be extra special. So I really hope you'll be there.
Yes, I love a little day jaunt to New York.
It's pretty great. We've had so many Michigan guests this year that I feel like we need just like a Michigan buzz. Or maybe we need Michigan Uplifters Live sometime.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. You come to us.
I'll come to you. This has been so wonderful to see you, Karissa. And yeah, I'm just so glad to be connected and to help other women on this journey feel supported and cared for. But also that we get to do that for each other too is really beautiful.
Yes, the community you're creating is so amazing. I'm so glad I like literally saw you from that. You're like, I like your t-shirt. I'm like, thanks. Here we are.
Best friends forever.
Yes. Thank you for having me and spreading the different message, right? Like it's a different message. It's, don't get overwhelmed. You don't have to suffer. Start small. And oh, by the way, if you're a workplace, help your women out.
Yes. Thanks for watching the Uplifters podcast. If this inspired you, hit subscribe and tap the bell to stay uplifted. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little lift today. Big love.
Painted water sunshine with rosemary and thyme. Dwell in the perplexing, though you find it vexing. Toss a star and hover, be your own best lover. Relish in a new prime, plant a tree in springtime. Dance with idle hindsight, bring the sun to twilight.